Crossroads Church. Do you know that letting go also lets you go? I remember when we used to have this group at the church that worked out together, and we did this exercise called the farmer's carry. What you did is you took 2 dumbbells, you placed one in each hand with a certain amount of weight on them. You carried them off to your side like this, and you walked around the gym, a lap around the gym. And every time you finished a lap, you got rewarded. You got to add more weight on each side, and you got to do it all over again. And I remember doing this exercise, and I remember that the longer I held on to the weight, the heavier that it got. I remember that at the beginning of the lap, I was walking normal. And I remember about halfway through the lap, I started to slow down. I remembered as I approached the finish line, my body was shaking. And then I would make it to the finish line just so that I can add more weight and start all over again. And every time that I added weight, I got slower, faster. Every time I added weight, I started shaking sooner. Until I reached the point that the weight for me was just too much to bear. And as hard as you try to hold on to the weight, as hard as you try to keep moving forward, you just get to the point that you can't do it anymore. I think a lot of times that the farmer's carry looks a lot like what we do as Christians. Isn't it funny what we will put ourselves through when all you have to do is let the weight go? Now, in the case of the farmer's carry, holding on to the weight is for a good reason. But as far as our lives go, what weight are you holding on to that isn't? How many are mad at someone right now? How many are holding on to bitterness towards someone right now? How many are holding on to hatred towards someone right now? How many won't even talk to someone because they hurt you in the past right now? You see, church, what I'm asking you this morning is how many of us are living in a state of unforgiveness towards others? You see, because Peter asked Jesus this question. In Matthew chapter 18, Peter came up to the Lord and he said, "Lord, how often will my brother sin against me and I forgive him? As many as 7 times?" Jesus said to him, "I didn't say to you 7 times. I said to you 70 times 7. You see, Jesus said to Peter, "Peter, let it go." Because you see, church, much like the farmer's carry, if you hold on to unforgiveness in your life, it will continue to get heavier and heavier and heavier. And I know that some of us in this room know exactly the weight that I'm talking about. But if we will just let it go, it will let you go. And I can do nothing but think about all the laps Jesus made while he was on this earth. And I can only think about how heavy the weight was of all our sin that Jesus was carrying of ours while he was on this earth. And yet Jesus still says, "Josh, 70 times 7. So this morning, church, it's time to let it go. And let's focus on worshiping Jesus, and let's focus on living in the way that he intended for us to live. Amen?